Welcome to Motivation Local, a podcast where we explore how place shapes identity, community, and the way we see ourselves. I'm your host, Corey Sadlemyer, and I'm grateful you've joined me for Season 2. I'm grateful too for the generous support from TELUS STORYHIVE, supporting so many podcasts across Alberta and British Columbia. Lived experience doesn't just shape how people view their community, it also influences how they view themselves. The sum of these experiences and memories forms a narrative about place. At the heart of this season, we continue to explore how these stories intersect, how community motivates its people, and how people in turn motivate their community. This year, our conversations will stretch further. We'll still share stories rooted in Medicine Hat, but with a bit of a twist. Many of this season's episodes will be presented through the eyes of some of our more creative community members. Each will bring a unique perspective on the connection between place and identity. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that Motivation Local is created on the traditional lands of the Blackfoot and Cree peoples, within the homelands of the Métis Nation, and at the meeting place of Treaty 4 and Treaty 7. These lands have been gathering places for generations, and we honor and learn from the deep relationships Indigenous people continue to have with this land. I look forward to sharing this new season of conversations with you on Motivation Local. Our first guest this season is Brenda Mercer. Brenda is a proud Indigenous woman, a community volunteer, a creator, and a friend. Join us as she shares the impact of the Sixties Scoop on her family, her work in the community, and her approach to creating and sharing. All right, you ready?
Yeah, you betcha.
Okay, I got some water there for you.
Oh, thank you.
I did drink out of that, and I drank out of this one. So all good. Welcome to the show, and really appreciate you joining me and doing this. We've crossed paths a few times on a variety of committees in the community, but we definitely haven't done anything like this before.
Yeah, no, been a lot of places with you, but never this. So this is unique. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. So I'd shared before that really what this is about kind of teasing out people's connections to the community, whether that's Medicine Hat or surrounding area. How does that impact our identities, and maybe how do we impact the identity of the community? So I want to work through some of those parts and then explore some of the creative pieces as well.
Okay, sounds good.
Maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm 61. I'm a mother of 2 daughters, 42-year-old and 24-year-old, 7 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandbaby, and everybody's here in Medicine Hat area, so it's fantastic. I'm a 60s Scoop survivor, but I like to call myself a 60s Scoop thriver because I don't know, I feel like survivor feels like you're a victim, and I don't feel like I'm a victim. I'm thriving. This is my best life I'm living right now. I've lived in Medicine Hat probably, I'm going to say close to 35 years total. I'd move away, come back, and now I'm in Redcliffe, which is basically Medicine Hat.
And so you'd shared you've moved to Medicine Hat like 3 times.
Yeah.
What kept drawing you back?
I think it's the area. I think it's really, truthfully, I think it's the land that we sit on. For some reason, it's the land. And I realized that the last time we came back that, it's special. There's, of course, there's the teepee, but it's the Archie sites. And I think it's the fact that all the ancestors were so resilient and how long they'd lived here before Medicine Hat was Medicine Hat.
So yeah, tell us a little bit about the archaeological sites.
Oh my goodness. So I belong to the society here in Medicine Hat, and when I joined, I didn't know what to expect, but they go to all these cool places around here. And from Redcliffe to the Trans-Canada Bridge, there's so many different archaeological sites along there, along the river, on top of the hill by the golf club in Redcliffe. There's teepee rings. Like, it's just so close. You can walk out from my house and just walk and see these things.
And how much have they been explored or uncovered or?
Well, that's a good question. So the map I got lately, they had been explored by archaeologists from the 1970s, kind of towards us now. So some of them are really prominent. You can see, and some of them you have to really look for.
Mm. And what kind of artifacts are they finding?
I don't know about the artifacts, but let's say at the water treatment center last year, they dug for 2 years. They found something at 2 meters, 3 meters, and 4 meters. And the best thing they found was a bone awl, which is in pristine condition.
Wow, so it would have been a camp settlement site, so the floodplain there.
Yeah, that's exactly what he described it like. But I was just amazed. And I think that we as Medicine Hat, I would love to have some of that stuff brought back here to Medicine Hat.
Is there a site you're aware of that you would just, if you could be the boss of the Archaeological Society, you'd say, can we really explore this one?
Mm-hmm. I think it's right at the teepee. I think that winter spring camp really gets to me. It's just the vision when you stand up there by the teepee and you look down and I just picture like 40, 50 teepees down there, people working, I don't know, just no houses, no sounds, no cars. And I think that it's a different time. Now, would I be able to survive back then? I don't know. I'm pretty much an urban Indigenous woman.
Was that site ever a part of a buffalo jump or?
Well, how it was described to me was there's a V there with some trees, and it was more not so much a buffalo site, but the snow would gather there really, really deep, and they'd chase them into the deep snow, and then they'd kind of catch them. So kind of a buffalo jump, yeah.
And so then you did some work with Tourism Medicine Hat and led some tours of that area?
Yeah, I still do that. I do sharing stories at the Samus Teepee once a month through the summer, and it's a 2-hour guided tour for people to come, and we talk about the teepee. We mostly talk about the land we sit on and the archaeology site, and then we make something like a medicine pouch.
And did you guys go down into the coulee then? Or?
It depends, because some people can't walk down and get back up. Yeah, so we kind of take them to the edge and point things out to them now.
Yeah, and Tourism Medicine Hat has certainly kind of stepped to the front as far as cultural awareness, emotion. That would be something that I've noticed for sure.
Oh yeah, Jason and his team, they're so great. They'll come up with ideas or things to do, and they've always partnered with me. And Jace was the one that got me into this. I mean, I was doing this for free, and Jace said, Brenda, you've got to stop that. You're a knowledge keeper. You need to, make some money from doing that. So that's how I started charging.
And then do you do work with the police commission or the police department? Or?
Yeah, so it used to be called the Chiefs Indigenous Advisory Committee, but we have more than Indigenous people here, so I'm not sure what we're calling it anymore. But I've been with them since 2021. We gather 4 times a year, and it's a really good time to express your concerns as a citizen or bring events up to them.
And what does that, I guess what's the goal of that group?
It's a good question. I think at the beginning it was more to have Indigenous input, because it's my personal opinion, as an Indigenous woman, we weren't getting our voice heard as much as the other citizens in the community. And I think that the police were interacting more with Indigenous people on the streets. And so we wanted to kind of be a bridge to see what we could do to help. But it's turned into much more than that. It's turned into an opportunity to work with rather than have them work for us. It's partnering.
And did you notice that initial work was making a difference between those relationships and interactions?
I think so, yeah. And I'm really grateful that they started it, because Meowson Friendship Center, where I was working at the time, we were the first people to go on board with that.
Like we were talking about your. Well, let's. I don't want to jump too far ahead, because I know you took some time this spring to build your own teepee, harvest the wood and do all the work. Can you walk us through a little bit about what that process was like?
Well, that actually came about 31 years ago. We had a friend, Merle Krause from Krause Optical in Medicine Hat.
Okay.
And my husband, who was a friend at that time, we went out to his Black Powder Society group or something. And as soon as we drove up, there was teepees. And I was looking around to see where the Indigenous people were, but there was nobody there. These non-Indigenous men had these teepees. And I said to my friend, how did you get a teepee and I don't have a teepee? So he suggested get this book called Indian Teepee, and I did. So 31 years ago, we were all gung-ho, we were going to make this. But life happened, and we didn't make it. So this January, I came across the book again. I pulled it out, and I said, hey, Chris, I found the book. Do you want to make a teepee? I'm not getting any younger. And I think he just hemmed and hawed maybe for 5 seconds, and he said, yeah, let's do it.
And he's got some special skills.
Oh, he's got some crazy mad skills, my upholstery husband there, yeah. But I think, when we were doing this, I was talking to people about, I was so excited, we're going to build this teepee. And then one of the people I spoke to was Jen Ma. She used to be here with Lip in Medicine Hat, but she's...
Lip?
I knew you were going to ask me that too. She worked with immigration.
Okay, yeah.
Immigrants from other countries. So I'm talking to her and she said, can I call you on Sunday? And I said, okay. So she said, tell me about it. Well, I talked for an hour straight. I was just so excited. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And at the end of the conversation, she was really quiet. And she says, do you think I could pay for the canvas? And do you think we could shoot a video? And do you think that we could include immigrants into that? And I was like, yes, yes, and yes. Because I'd spoke to Siddiqui, a friend of mine from Medicine Hat, and, I think people assume that we have all these differences, and I think we should be looking at the similarities, because he didn't have a teepee, but he had a hut. I do beadwork, they do beadwork, and pretty soon we're just talking about all the similarities. And so that's what we talked about in this video, is we talked about, how we're not different, we're similar. And you live on the other side of come from the other side of the world.
You were talking about the process of harvesting the poles, going out there and having a team of people around you and then waiting for your direction on which poles, what to do.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, and then so we get the teepee all done and I'm like, yay. So now we need poles. Well, I don't have a truck and I don't know how to fall trees. I don't have a chainsaw. And so I put on Facebook very sheepishly, like, oh my gosh, does anybody want to come harvest poles? And there was nothing. It was like crickets. Well, Candace from the Esplanade got a hold of me and said that Aaron said he would bring 10 staff members, including himself. And I'm like, what? And then Brent Secondiac came. He brought his truck and he rented a trailer. Tim and Tom from the Esplanade, they had chainsaws and had been cutting trees for a long time. So we get out there and we're driving out there. And first of all, you have to know that Brent Secondiac had oral surgery on his mouth 2 days before he came out. And he wasn't sure he was going to make it. So we're driving out there and I said, I'm so glad you made it, And he says, yeah, look over here. He said it was swollen twice that size yesterday. And I said, well, what are you doing here? He says, I really wanted to come. I wanted to be part of this. So we all get out there. And Aaron's like, shh, okay, everybody stop. Brenda's going to tell us what to do now. And I just turned white and I said, I have no idea what we're doing. But it just sort of came together. They had hard hats and all the safety equipment. And pretty soon we're heading off to the tree line and we're marking the trees that we want to be cut. And it just came together.
It's just like some magic. And
right? Yeah, absolutely.
It all comes together. You have all the teepees, and then one of the next steps was actually painting canvas, because you invited me to do that, and I missed out.
Yeah.
But the story around that sounds really neat too.
Well, and then again, I didn't have a place to lay my teepee. So I put it on Facebook and people said, well, I have a garage. And I'm like, well, it needs to be 20 feet by 40 feet. So the only place it came up was Nicole Neubauer from Irvine suggested maybe they had a new building out there. But then she said, well, it's got a gravel floor. So that didn't work out. So the city came through and they let us go to Hockey Hounds. And so we had that for 7 days and we placed it in there. Like you said, I invited people to come and paint.
And how many different people were able to contribute?
I think about 21 came out. But I thought it was really important because I'd never painted a teepee. I'd never built a teepee. And I thought, I think it's important when you're in a community to share with the community. And so that's why I invited people.
And is this, because I know some of these things now, there's Cree teepees, there are Blackfoot teepees. Is a Cree teepee?
No, it's Dakota Sioux style.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So what's different about that?
I think that they follow a lot of what the Cree teepees teachings are too.
Hey, yeah. It does still require the runner to go around with the rope. Just a way to make fun of people.
No, actually, I don't think it does. So the way this book laid out was the fact that you put all the poles in and then you just go around and secure it afterwards, not between everyone. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So it was, I did a lot of running the first year.
I remember that.
And it felt like after a while, I was like, I don't think this is actually what happens. I think this is a way that people figure out how to get the rookies to run around.
They just wanted to see you run.
Yeah. And then you talked about you don't want this to be your last teepee to make.
Well, like as you get older, you really, like I dream big all the time. I don't just dream small. So I wanted one to start, but I would like 7. I'd like 12, but I'm telling my husband 7. So it doesn't seem so bad. Because I envision a plot of land, 4 to 5 acres, and then have people come and stay in the teepees. But in each teepee have something different, like beading, leather work, how to put the teepee up, what the poles mean, and just to spend time in our culture.
Mm. Any good ideas about where that plot of land?
No. Oh my gosh. I've just been putting it out there, hopefully something will come back positive. You never know.
I think this episode will come out in April or May of 2026.
Fingers
if you don't have something then, we're going to just blast it out to every
oh, that'd be great.
Every network. When we were chatting a couple weeks ago, you're involved in other community groups as well. It actually seemed like you were involved in all the community groups.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. I like to be involved. I was always raised that, I was taught by my parents that when you live in a community, it's important to give back. And so volunteering has always been a part of my life. And let's see what I'm involved with Learn with Deb Forbes. I think that's very important. I'm involved with the Southeastern Alberta Chamber of Commerce because my husband has his own business and I have my own little business. And what else? Oh, the Candidate Day Committee. I'm involved with that. And I just think that is growing by leaps and bounds every year.
Mm-hmm. And has that had a greater Indigenous presence?
Oh, yeah. And I think it's because when I see other community groups, because we've got a wide variety of people here in Medicine Hat, what they're doing, I'll just take after Yusuf, for example. Well, they had this Black History Month, thing at City Hall. And I said, hey, I want to do that. So that's how it started at City Hall. And I think that we've got such great community leaders that they're always willing to help. And I just want to make Medicine Hat a place where Indigenous people are, oh my goodness, what's the word I want to use here? Highlighted, but that's not the word I want to use. But you know what I mean? I just want to make them proud of who they are. And I mean, we're in Medicine Hat, like the word Medicine Hat even itself.
Yeah, it's in the name. It's in the title.
Yeah. So I think it's important.
And have you seen positive changes in that way over the last decade?
In Medicine Hat?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It seems like since we've been back here now for 14 years, it seems like it's growing. But it's something you have to work at. And I think that for me, it's not about me doing it. It's about working with and supporting and encouraging others. So if there's any other Indigenous people that I can help support, I do that. And I think it's important to know that, I might start something, but with the help of the community, it's not about me. And then it's also important to have the community engaged as a whole so that, anything we do in an Indigenous way, they might want to be part of and learn how to do.
That the community pride piece, like when I think about Kiskakemo and seeing the kids that are get up and dance at the opening ceremonies or the follow-up conversations that happen afterwards, like we'll see a spike in kids that will self-identify after that event, to say, my grandfather was Cree, or but it's like in that moment of pride where people want to stick their hand up and say, I'm proud of my heritage, and I think that's been that's had a real impact on classrooms across our city.
Oh yeah, I think our culture, due to residential school, 60 Scoop oppression for the number of years, we need to regain our pride. And I think the younger you can start doing that and catch them, in school-age children, the greater chance of learning languages or, really connecting with culture.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about one of the ideas I had for this entire season was really around creativity, creators, and that's something that I've noticed on, say, your Facebook feed. And you mentioned I do some beading and stuff, but like you definitely have a creative flair, and I'm not saying tell us about all the things that you sell, but I'm more about I want to just talk about that creative side a bit and how you get to express that.
Well, I've been beading since I was 8, and I learned from my non-Indigenous cousin from Salmon Arm, Carol, and it was daisy stitch. That was the very first thing. And so for a lot of years, I would bead for my friends, rings or bracelets or necklaces, and give them out as gifts. But then it went through a time where, as I got older, people in my community realized I'm Indigenous, and kids mostly. And then you're Indian, you're Native, and then I didn't want to do it anymore. So I didn't pick it up till I was, 21 again. I did it now and then, but not very much. And now I do it because it's important to know where we came from. Because I think I need to know where I came from to go forward, if that makes sense. I need to know, that my grandparents, what they were doing, and my great-grandmother would bead, and my grandmother and my mom and my sisters, they all bead. So I come from a big line of beaders. But, beading is only so much of what you can do. And I feel like leather work, I love leather, anything with leather, I like to do that. And I think what I do is when I have my supplies in my little craft room, and it's not very big, it's probably the size of this, to be truthful, I just look around and I go through pictures in a book and just look at what they have. And I try to replicate, but with my own little twist on it. So some things I tried, I never show people because they don't work out. And some things I try and my daughter comes and I go, oh no, that's a dud. She goes, no, Mom, it's really good. Really? So I think it's, what I might like, you might not like, or the colors I like, you might not like. And what I have the problem with is that I always do them in colors I like, and then I can't give them away. And I don't like to sell. My big thing is gifting. I think our culture is all about gifting. So I don't know if I told you, sometimes I carry earrings in my purse, and I'll go to the store and I could be behind a lady and she's in front of me in a checkout. So I know I've got 30 seconds. So I'll pull out of my purse these earrings and I go, excuse me, I'd like to gift these earrings to you. And they look kind of dumbfounded and they go, you want me to pay? No, this is a gift. I want to tell you I made these with all my love and good intention. And sometimes I have people 2-3 years later come up to me and say, you don't remember me, but every time I wear your earrings, I feel your love. So I think, that for me, I started doing that because it was almost like a way of bridging. of connecting to non-Indigenous people who don't know me.
There's that internal part of the artist where they make the stuff in the little room.
Yes.
And then there's putting it out there for the world to see. Was that a challenge for you?
Oh, it's still a challenge. I had the opportunity to participate in treks where they took some of my rattles throughout Alberta. And I was like, really? You want to take my rattles? People will want to see these. So I'm always amazed that people like what I do. Because I don't know, maybe it's just you do it so often, it becomes the norm for you.
You said you like to put your own little twist on it. If I were to see a rattle or a pair of earrings, how would I go with those? I know the Brenda made those.
Oh, so lately, like I used to do all my rattles just, plain, very basic, but now I use dye so I can have purple rattles, red rattles, orange rattles, whatever. And I'll put beadwork on them. I'll put fur on them, just to put my own. I like blinged out things. I don't know why that is, but I do.
Blinged out. I'm sure that's a word all through history. When I've seen the kids beading, what's interesting to me is there's that focus, that individual part where you're just really inside yourself, but there's also the communal aspect to that kind of work where, it's, my son was here earlier helping us get all set up, and sometimes fathers and sons and mothers and daughters, they can be like this and trying to sort something out, but sometimes you can be like this, you can be walking side by side, and to me the latter way is the better way, and to me that's kind of what it has always felt like when I've been inside the teepee or in the classroom and kids are beading, because it often really lends itself to a conversation or a story or a parable or a teaching.
Oh, yeah, I agree. One of the first times I was really beading with people was when I was working at Meowson Friendship Center. I was their cultural coordinator. And I was sitting with a group of Indigenous women, Métis women, First Nations women. And we were just doing bead loom. And all of a sudden, a Métis lady, she was doing this and she just started crying. And I think a lot of times when we as Indigenous people, we realize where we came from and our ancestors, it gets you right here. And I think then you have more sharing. Some people really like to share and some people don't. And I think that depends where we are in our healing journey. I share a lot. Sometimes I share too much, but I think it's really important because residential school and Sixties Scoop wasn't that long ago. And I think it's important for people to know and sometimes put a face to those stories, because you can read it in a book, you might not remember it. But now if I tell you my story, you're going to remember more.
Yeah, Daryl Williard has he's got a kid's version and an adult version of the residential school story, and he's done the adult version with our school administrators and school board trustees, and there aren't many dry eyes in the place when they hear that story.
Oh, it's just like the blanket exercise, right? I think that's important too. And I think a person could take it 2 or 3 times as a non-Indigenous person, because you're going to get something out of it different every time.
Yeah. And I think that we were also want to be conscious and aware too that, we're asking someone to share their story or their experience with us, and it's not at zero cost. To share that, because that can bring up really tough emotions. And so I think to what you said earlier, the idea is that some people are in a different space to be able to do that, and not everybody will be.
Oh, yeah. Like, I could walk out on a Saturday and feel like I'm at 10, really great day, and just something triggers me or something, and then I'm down at a 2 again. But I try not to project that onto other people. If I'm feeling down, I just head home. And, I'll just start beading or something and just try to get my head around what really triggered me and try to work on that. Because I don't think that unless we get to the root cause of our issues, I don't think we're really dealing with them.
On the art side, on the creative side, and I guess the connection to Medicine Hat, I'll put you on the spot a little bit. And can you share with me some other artists, Indigenous artists is particularly what I'm thinking about, that are, making a mark or really doing some neat things in our community, or maybe they're from our community and they've gone elsewhere?
Yeah. Well, go way back to the teepee. One of the paintings of the teepee was Rob Anderson. So I met him in 1994, maybe. And that was before he did the painting at the teepee. I think he's fantastic. And, he does a lot of photography now. I think Elder Charlie Fox, he's a fantastic artist. Although he's not in our community, I think what he does is when he comes here, he gives us his knowledge and his wisdom and his teachings. And I think that's a gift as well, to be able to do that. Let's see. Stu Young, he has Cousin Skateboard, and he travels around to different Indigenous communities, but he is starting to do more work here. I think he did something with a school district last year.
Yeah, CrossFit School.
Yeah, so I think that's really great because I'm getting older and I won't be doing this for the next 30 years. And my goal is to help support other people to continue doing great things.
Not skateboarding.
No, probably not. Probably on the sidelines of that, yeah.
So we thinking about community and identity and that Indigenous connection. You said your hope, the word wasn't highlight, but pride or feeling proud. I'm trying to think about how I can phrase this question. I'm thinking about what's next for a community like Medicine Hat. Like what does Medicine Hat need, or what does Medicine Hat need to do to continue to strengthen those bonds?
Oh, where do I start? I think the first thing, if I could have a huge dream for Medicine Hat, would be an interpretive center at the TP. And so I think it would have tourism in there, but I think it would have a working space for Indigenous people to create, to sell, to teach, to highlight, a museum, everything interactive. I think that Medicine Hat, we need street names that are Indigenous. Like you go to Calgary and you look at all their street names.
People don't even think about it as they're going down Crowchild Trail.
Yeah.
Blackfoot Trail.
Yeah. But I think that's important. Like even if we don't have, let's say, I don't know, maybe people's names. Let's just say Bob.
Bill Bliss.
Yeah. Let's say, Bliss Street or something like that we could have. Something like that I think we need to work on.
Yeah. Yeah. You got, Saratoga Park. Is that the original name of that?
I don't even know. That's a good question. I'm not sure.
I was as a kid. I lived in the flats, and Bill Bliss would I'm walking through, and my mom remembers him saying, "That kid's a Swede." And I'm adopted, so we never really knew the answer. Turns out I think I'm just Irish.
You were adopted?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And were you adopted as a baby?
Yeah, 1 month old. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, your parents. You must love your parents. Like I love people that adopt children.
Yeah, and a little bit crazy because they were 21 and 19 when they adopted me. Like, how is that even allowed?
Wow. Yeah. So they really grew up with you.
Yeah.
Where my parents, I was 2.5 and they adopted me. They were 55.
Okay.
So it was like living with my grandparents.
And where were you?
Shaunavon.
Okay, right. We knocked Shaunavon.
Yeah. So, Oh, wow.
My dad had just left Shaunavon area, Moss Bank, and then decided, hey, so they adopted me, and then they adopted my brother 3 years after that, and then my sister 3 years after that is real. Like I tell her that she's real, or fake.
And are they here in Medicine Hat?
More or less, yeah. My sister lives south of Seven Persons. My brother lives in Redcliffe, but works often in BC. Like he drives lots of trucks. So yeah.
Well, I just learned something about you today.
Yeah,
wow,
no,
that's pretty cool.
You've turned the tides here.
Yeah.
I was interviewing. So if you had a big dream, so we got some good grant writers in our community. We can get an interpretive center. How about at the smaller scale?
Smaller scale. Oh, well, I was with Jace at the TP not too long ago, and somebody from, I think it was Destination Alberta, came to visit. And Jace talked about having, say, a boardwalk right to the edge, which makes sense because if somebody's in a wheelchair, and can't get out that far, they might not be able to see the site exactly. But I don't know, just signage. Maybe hire summer students for interpreters to talk about that so that people don't just stop, look at the teepee, take their picture, and there they go down the highway.
Yeah, we were on Vancouver Island at Easter time. There's the Malahat Highway, I think it's called, and they built a structure there that is just, it's incredible. It's probably 15 stories high, and so it starts off where you go in, and then it's a skywalk, and you realize about 100 meters in that you're actually 30 meters off the ground. You're in the trees, and you're just walking through the trees, and it's telling, like, what does life look like up in the trees versus being down on the ground. And then when you get out there, you're just at the base of this other thing that goes up top of the inlet that's there, and it's spectacular. And it's talks about the historical pieces about what this land was for and why it was important. And so we probably don't need to go way up there in Medicine Hat to catch a view of things. You could see out the potential for something like that to draw people.
Oh my gosh. When you were saying that, I was picturing, going to the edge of the thing and having kind of what's it called? When you, Drumheller has one, you can go see the Passion Play there in their. No, there's this place you can go see the Passion Play just outside Drumheller, and it's built-in seating. Help me out here, Corey. Yes, absolutely. So kind of like that. Wouldn't that be cool at the edge and be able to view the whole valley of the teepee site there? I think that'd be fantastic. I picture it already.
You're in these now.
Yeah, no. What did you say, an amphitheater? Yeah.
Yeah, amphitheater.
Okay, so how I picture it is smaller scale. Maybe it would fit 30 people at the most. So a boardwalk right out to the edge, and then something that would face the site. And so somebody could be standing down here, an interpreter, and talking to the people, and they could sit there and listen to the story.
Yeah. That wouldn't be even hard to do.
I don't think so. It wouldn't cost that much, I don't think.
No.
I'll have to text Jace after.
Get the shovels out.
Yeah.
And how about what's next for you?
Teepees. So finding a plot of land is really important. So I guess it's just talking to people, and you never know. Somebody might just have, a little bit of pasture that they're not using. Or, I don't even need to own it. I just need to be able to access it with no services. Yeah.
I always look, have you ever looked on the real estate app and you look from above and you see all the circles?
No.
So on the land, the people have farmed. They've got the irrigation set up and their pivots. And so the pivots make a circle, but the plots of land are all square. And the corners of all those are these essentially like triangles. So every everywhere there's a pivot, all four corners are open because they can't seed those plots of land because they can't water them. Right. And I've always thought that's where you could put solar panels and not be in the way. You could still farm, but the corners are awfully large. And as you were sharing that, some of the corners that I see, like if you drive out towards Desert Bloom area, there's right by the greenhouse that's out there. There's kitty corner from that. Is a cornfield right now, and the corn is like, it seems like it's 20 feet high. Now I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it's very, very tall.
Yeah.
So it's very noticeable from that to the ground, and there's this whole section there. Maybe somebody can give you a corner of land.
Well, I would be open. And I think, before we even get to that point, I would have to see how we could have it so it's community driven. So it's like, I don't want personally to own any land. I just would like to be able to use land with community to do Indigenous things.
Mm-hmm. All right. Although there's a challenge there.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that this community really surprises me. Well, I shouldn't say surprises me, but I'm happily surprised. When you want to do something, you have an idea, you approach somebody, I won't say who, and then they just go, okay, sure, we'll do that. And so that's how in the last 4 years, it's really kind of unfolded, and it's fantastic. And now it's the point where some people come towards me, hey, do you want to do that again? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
There's an underbelly of hope and optimism and community that's even outside of what you see in news and and everywhere else that is heartwarming.
And pride. Like you said, with the school-age children, I think we're kind of on a turning point where there's more people who are talking about that they have Aboriginal, ancestry in their family, where before you just didn't want to talk about it. So fingers crossed that continues into the future.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for taking some time out of your day today and chat with me and suffering through some of my technical glitches here, but I think we'll be able to clean all those up. So that should be.
Yeah. Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing this next year.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll have. I can even have something to you sooner than that. I can make a private YouTube link and.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate that. Fun. Yeah. Invite me back and I'll interview you about the adoption. How that went.
Yeah.
Motivation Local is produced by Table 4 Productions with the generous support of TELUS STORYHIVE. You can find our episodes on Optic TV, at our website, motivationlocal.com, on our YouTube channel, or wherever you get your podcasts. Our producer is Turner Sadlemyer. Our theme music was composed by Medicine musical artist Snakes and the Riot. As always, thanks for watching or listening to our podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard here, don't hesitate to subscribe to our channel or to leave us some feedback.